Today, guys, we're going to rank addictions, and we have a list here based on the tiers. We have worst, bad, alright, good, and excellent. And I'm gonna use obviously addictions which people struggle with nowadays. And please note that for me, addiction is simply something which you learn to like over time and that you maybe consume excess of it. I don't see it as a disease. I don't see it as a pathological issue. And I don't even see the people who do consume these what we call addictions as people that are defective or that they have a major psychological problem. And look, I have some very controversial opinions on those things, and I'm gonna base myself based on a few things. So these are the three metrics that we're gonna use. First, morality, as obviously I believe in objective morality. From a non-secular perspective, that's the most important thing. Second thing is health, meaning does it have a negative or positive impact on your health? And then third, we have utility, meaning can it be used to your advantage or would it be used against you basically? Or would it be more something which has more cons, meaning that you cannot really use it to your advantage and it would actually have more consequences if you were to use it. So let's jump into it right now. So the first that we have on the list is alcohol. And without even thinking, I'm gonna say worse. Now the reason being is, of course, people can consume alcohol in social settings and have what we call fun, meaning the utility aspect might be there, but at the same time, it's not really there. The reason being is the way that you have fun in life is entirely subjective. What does that mean? I can have fun working hard every day, going to the gym, spending time with family. I can have more fun and experience more pleasure than someone that constantly goes to parties, constantly goes to nightclubs where he drinks alcohol and everything. So that's my personal opinion. Obviously, alcohol isn't healthy, and I'm pretty sure everyone can agree that alcohol, especially to an excess, is immoral. And I'm pretty sure that anyone can agree that alcohol is not healthy as well, right? So it really goes into the worst when it comes to the tier list. Now, the second that we have is porn. Now, as you guys know, I'm a porn recovery coach. And as much as you can actually argue that like porn is kind of harmless, meaning it cannot have a negative nor positive impact on you, except if you believe that it's going to have those impacts on you. But now the question here comes with, how does it help with morality? How does it help with health? And how does it help with utility? And the response to that is it doesn't help in any of those aspects. So again, this is going into the worst tier list, because what is the purpose of watching it? Come on, guys. Now, the next one that we have on the list is music. And oh boy, I have my opinion on music. I used to listen to music up to 8 hours a day. When I was younger, I would listen to rap music all day long, non-stop. And that is going to cost you, especially if you listen to a lot of music, one thing. And that one thing is literally what changed my life and what allows people to make an immense amount of progress in a short amount of time. And that is to live not being constantly distracted. Because when you listen to music, you're not with your own thoughts. You're not thinking about the problems in your life that you might need to solve because it's been years that you've been in the same situation. You're not thinking about those meaningful goals that maybe if you were to pursue, your life would have more meaning. You're not thinking about how you can get closer to God. And most people can't even be comfortable sitting with their own thoughts. So as much as you can argue, oh, music is so fun, you have almost like a bodily experience, please re-question that. And so I don't think we need to use the list on this. I would just say that it would be considered as bad in the tier list. Now, the next one that we have is caffeine. And I might get canceled for this, but personally, I believe that caffeine goes into the excellent tier list. Now, let me explain. Caffeine doesn't have a negative impact on your health, except if you consume like Monsters and Red Bulls and everything, where it's obviously different. It has its utility if you use it to your advantage, right? Of course, you can argue that the benefits and the way that you can use caffeine to your advantage is not a cause and effect relationship. It's not because you drink caffeine that suddenly you have so much energy and suddenly you can focus and suddenly you feel more drive and hunger for life. But you can interpret, this is what I like to do with caffeine personally, is I can interpret this adrenaline I'm feeling, and I can interpret like almost the tension and my heart beating fast as a way for me to be more alert and a way for me to be willing to do more so I can get out of that state of tension, which is maybe mental masturbation, but I still believe you can use it to your advantage without it being too harmful for your health. And also it doesn't cross anything morally. So yeah, caffeine is great, 100%. I personally sleep 4 to 5 hours a night most of the time. So sometimes caffeine is a little nice, you know? Next one we have on the list is gaming. Gaming is something I personally used to indulge in so much. I'd play 12, 14, 16 hours a day easily. I'd play until 5 a.m. when there was summer break. My life deteriorated in a very bad sense because of video games, because of how much video games I was playing instead of studying, instead of building real relationships, instead of improving myself and everything. And once I left video games, my life changed forever. Now here's the thing, from the morality perspective, it really depends on the game, right? So we cannot say much about that. From the health perspective, it also depends on the amount of hours that you play. And then from the utility perspective, that's very, very debatable, right? Obviously you can get better things in real life that you're trying to seek out of video games. So for example, if what you're trying to seek out from video games is this pursuit of progress, this pursuit of achievement, then just know that real life has this, but 10 times more. So I'll just classify gaming as alright, very much neutral, because that one really depends on the game and the individual and the intention of that individual when it comes to video games. Next one, casual sex. In my book, The Fortis Method, I talk in chapter 6 about how we've been constantly told by society, by our culture, by the media, by the music that we listen to, that pretty much intercourse is the number one thing in life. Obviously, it is not mentioned explicitly, but through the advertisements, through the movies, through the media, through the music, that's what people basically receive as a message. And look, being someone that never ever engage in casual sex, but coaching and overall just talking to many people who actually indulge in a lot of casual sex, I can tell you that what you're trying to get out of casual sex, for the most part, you don't have to only get it through sex. What do I mean by that? Let me expose a few things. The reason why people, they want casual sex most of the time is not just because of biology. It's not just because of love. It's not just because of that innate desire. Because people can control themselves. As human beings, we have the cognitive layer. We don't just have our instincts, we have the cognitive layer on top, which allows us to make decisions, to interpret things differently, to reason through things, to choose and use our own free will to do whatever we want. So the problem with casual sex, obviously from the morality standpoint, it goes against morality. When it comes to the health standpoint, you can argue that, yeah, it's a bit healthier, right? But then it's like, why not just eat healthy, have a healthy lifestyle, right? Which most people don't even do. And then from the utility perspective, that's where people get told from also these red pill figures that tell them, like, basically what you'll gain is a sense of self-worth, a sense of dominance, a sense of superiority, a sense of power, a sense of attractiveness, a sense of confidence. And basically we get told from our culture that if you engage in casual sex, then that's when you'll finally be a man, basically. And the guys that do not engage in those things are often seen as the weirdos, right? And of course, to a certain extent, like, you know, I believe as men, we should be able to attract women, right? But to go and make your life about pursuing casual sex is very, very meaningless and very useless. Because everything that you're looking for in casual sex, you can get it from God, if you're a believer. You can get it from pursuing something meaningful in your life. You can get it from improving other aspects of your life anyways. So I would put casual sex in the worst tier list. Next one that we have, scrolling social media. And look, scrolling social media might seem harmless, right? From a morality standpoint, no worries, right? From a health standpoint, no worries. But from a utility standpoint, I mean, you can argue to the same extent that you can learn a lot from short form content, right? Which I have done in the past. Now, here comes the real problem. When it comes to constantly scrolling on social media, just like the problem was with music, is that if you're constantly distracted, whenever you feel a negative emotion, whenever a problem arises in your life, whenever a challenge arises in your life, and instead of solving it so that you can actually become stronger mentally, physically, you can actually progress in your life, improve yourself, you can become more of a man, basically. If you're just going on your phone and just being like, oh my God, you know, let me go on Instagram, right? Let me go on Instagram. Guess what? That's going to basically delay whatever problem that you have for as long as you keep on distracting yourself. And there is this quote from Jordan Peterson that states, conflict delayed is conflict multiplied. Meaning, if you don't solve that problem now, it's only going to get bigger. And on top of that, you're not even making progress in your own life, which you could have if you actually fixed that problem. And that's when you see people in their 30s, 40s, 50s being almost in the same position, the same situation when it comes to relationships, when it comes to how other people perceive them, when it comes to their careers, when it comes to their physique, when it comes to their maturity, as when they were teens. It's just that their physical appearance changed a little bit, but other than that, not much has changed. And that's the biggest problem. If you go on social media and you constantly distract yourself, time is going to fly by anyways. It's not like time is pausing the moment you go on social media. So let's say if you spend 5 hours a day on social media and then you spend another 2 or 3 hours listening to music, that's 8 hours where you're constantly distracted, and you could have used that time to your advantage or to just even experience life to the fullest, but you didn't. And now that 8 hours wasted. Now imagine you multiply that by 5 years. Now, let's say that you're 25 and then you're 30, trust me, nothing will change. Only a few little things. But if you're there and you don't distract yourself, you'll have to actually solve the problem. And that's the beauty of it. You'll feel the hunger and drive to improve your life because you'll think about things that are meaningful to you, which you really want to get done. And so that's the best case scenario. Now, the worst case scenario is just constantly being distracted. So I have to put scrolling on social media in the worst category list. Now, the next one that we have is Netflix. A quote that I made about 2 to 3 years ago, which is my favorite quote because I created it myself basically. And that is, why watch a movie when your life can be one? When I was younger, I would watch Japanese cartoons called anime, right? But then the moment I realized like I could technically live a life that is similar to them, not in the physical sense, not living their exact lifestyle, but in the sense of I could work hard every day, I could build my physique, I could become someone respected, I could become someone that fights very well. Why am I watching these series when I can live my life and literally achieve what they're achieving? I know it sounds a bit cringe, but that's how I kind of thought. Why am I looking at other fictional characters working hard when I can work hard myself? So when it comes to Netflix, if you use it to your advantage, I would actually give it the good on the tier list, simply because this is actually long form content, right? Movies usually are 2 to 3 hours, and you can actually get inspired by that. And it's not like you're gonna binge on movies because there's no point in doing so. So I think the time is used in a better sense. And for me personally, and this is very subjective, but I don't even watch movies to be honest, but when I do, which is like once a year, I would try to use like the whole story to either inspire me or to allow me to have some form of creativity to pursue different things. Now, of course, don't use those benefits as an excuse to just waste your time watching movies all day long, but I'm just saying that it can be used to your advantage. Whilst these other behaviors, which I put as bad or worse, cannot really be used to your advantage if you really think about it. So guys, remember, at the end of the day, if you live in a constant state of distraction, as cliche as it sounds, you'll waste your life. I always think of the people of the past, the people of a few hundred years ago, or the people of 1,000 years ago. Those emperors, those guys that went to war and had to live through harsh conditions. They didn't have those distractions that we have nowadays. They couldn't scroll on social media if one of their family members got killed. They couldn't just listen to music in order to be motivated to go on a battlefield. And I know it sounds very cringe. My point is not just to give you like a motivational speech. My point is to tell you that when these people are in these situations, right, and there's literally rites of passage in certain tribes where they put their kids in the wilderness and they have to learn how to survive. And if they do survive, and obviously there's like dangerous animals around them and they need to hunt so that they can eat, but if they do survive, they become a man at the age of like 12, 13, 14. Whilst for us in our society, people at the age of 30 are sometimes not even yet real adults. So I'm just saying, when you don't distract yourself, it's like it will force you naturally to actually do what is required in order to better your life, in order to move forward with your life, in order to solve those problems that are important to solve. If you're not married and you're in your 30s, for example, and let's say that was your goal a long time ago, well, why don't you consider not distracting yourself? Trust me, you'll literally start thinking of ways so that you can solve that problem and actually improve yourself in those aspects, and that aspect specifically, so that you can finally achieve this. But if you distract yourself, you're not even going to think about a way in order to get there. So please remove those behaviors from your life and you'll see your life will change drastically. See you in the next video. Peace.